Where I come from means just as much to me as where I am and where I'm going. They are layers of who I was, who I am, and who I choose to be. For a long time, I regretted not growing up in one single neighborhood, not having friends I met in elementary school or in my neighborhood that I would grow up with and know for the rest of my life. But moving around so much offered me a different experience, a different connection to place. At a young age, I knew all the major streets, from Martin Luther King all the way to Sunset Boulevard. I knew how to take the bus almost anywhere. And as I grew older, I became familiar with the many different areas throughout the city. Although I no longer live there, it is still very much a part of me, and everywhere I've been since, or everywhere I tend to go to, I seem to find spaces that take me back. And that is so comforting, even if just temporary. When I look at these images and hear these sounds, these fragments of time and space, they may come off as idle or disjointed, but within them lies subtle movement, each one having their own tempo, a sort of pulse of their own, individual rhythms in conversation with each other, repeating, converging at different points, and falling in and out of sync with each other within this space throughout the day. An attempt on contemplating duration, yet merely a snippet, as the shake of my hands holding the camera or recording device simultaneously disrupts the frame or creates noise and recalls my physical presence at those individual times and spaces. A reminder of where I've been, where I am, where I'm going, and how they all overlap. In introspect and retrospect, I think of my parents and my parents' parents and the journeys that they've each embarked on, the sacrifices they've made, and the journeys and the sacrifices of all of those who've paved the way for our presence in the here and the now. I think of those who are currently on that journey right now as I speak, and I think of those on the verge of making that decision, of embarking on that journey, physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. Once a migrant, always a migrant, a traveler of time and space, of culture, tradition, language, and thought. Nomadic, decentered, contrapuntal. Nomadic, contrary to the dominant narrative, traveling to the cities of the north in search for capital in exchange for labor, unlikely to the highest bidder, but instead for the illusion of hope, security, and stability, exploited and precarious, sacrificing their only resource, their bodies, whether abled or disabled, oftentimes beyond the point of exhaustion and excruciating pain. Hard-working, punctual, efficient, overproducing, yet only getting the short end of the stick. Clock in, clock out, 40 hours this week, maybe 15 hours the next, at your disposal and your pleasure, until pronounced too slow, too old, ugly, and or useless, laid off and obsolescent. This is our reality. This is the legacy we face generation after generation. How do we break from this cycle of unemployment, homelessness, dislocation, and surmounting debt? Decentered, nevertheless thriving, because it's not the material that defines us, but the capacity at which and the circumstances under which we seamlessly operate, practically invisible and at the margins of society, to maintain this status quo, this master-slave transaction, passive and docile. But when all you want is a decent living, the ability to provide for your own family, shelter, and food on the table, that bare minimum, we acquiesce and make the most out of. Because if there's one thing we're good at, it's improvising. Not just out of necessity, but intuitively, with love, humility, and respect. For our struggle is a long and historic one that predates imposed borders of geography, class, and gender. Contrapuntal, because the rhythms of our movements and our labor, our cooks and bakers, our nannies and caretakers, our mothers and teachers, our cleaners and maids, our seamstresses and assembly line workers, our gardeners and farm workers, our mechanics and plumbers, our brothers in the parking lot at Home Depot, and our sisters walking the streets. We make up the fabric of this society, and it's our society too. As much as they try to deny us and cast us away, we have infiltrated every aspect of life, and you rely on us just as much, and if not more, than we rely on you. The swap meets and the flea markets, the parks and plazas and public transportation, the nightclubs and bars and restaurants, our brown and black spaces, these are all our stages where we intersect, overlap, and cross-pollinate, manipulating these spaces and their use, inserting our music, dance, and culture, sharing and exchanging, enabling transnational experiences, converting feelings of displacement and marginalization into connectedness, a reconfiguration of time and place, exemplifying our humanness. This is our resistance, and we must continue to cultivate this in remembrance of those before us, those here now, and those who are yet to come, like the masa of our tortillas that our abuelitas, bisabuelitas, and tatarabuelitas learned and passed down from our ancestors. Let us continue to shape and mold our own future, growing our extended families, learning from one another, transcending static notions of time and place, as we are all wanderers on this earth, hybrid, fluid, potential.